Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, going to talk about Torabhaig Distillery and do a review of Torabhaig Allt Glean, the Legacy series. This is at cask strength. I picked this up from the distillery in April 2024 during my fourth trip to Scotland. Previous trips, I had been all over the lowlands, all the way down to Bladnoch and Armadale. Been to Isle of Arran, been to Islay twice, all the way up to Speyside, the Highlands, and all the way up to Orkney. So my fourth trip went to the west side of the Highlands and over to the islands. Of course, Torabhaig is on the Isle of Skye, so before I visited Torabhaig, I went to Talisker Distillery. Now, one of the things I try to tell people is when you go to Scotland, as much as we're whiskey fans, it's not just about the whiskey. You want to get into, I think, the history, the culture, and other things that tell a story about Scotland. The standing stones of Stenness, the rings of Brodgar, the Pict stones, stuff like that. Go to a museum, visit castles. Whenever I can, I like to visit a castle. If you can stay in a castle, that's even cooler. I've stayed in a number of different castles in Scotland. So one of the things I did before doing a tour at Torabhaig Distillery is got to visit a castle ruin. So I'm going to show you my slides from that tour, and there's a museum there as well, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Torabhaig Distillery and this whiskey. So Armadale Castle, really cool place, really lush gardens. There's a lot more to see there than what I showed you. And it's right down the road from Torabhaig Distillery. Also right next to Torabhaig Distillery is a Torabhaig Hotel. Different spelling, but if you're looking for a nice, comfortable place with, I think, a pretty good breakfast, you want to check out that hotel as well. Now, since this is at cask strength, it's going to need a little bit of water. So let me put in a couple teaspoons here, and while I'm waiting for this water to get integrated into the whiskey, let me give you a brief tour of Torabhaig Distillery and tell you a little bit about this whiskey. Torabhaig Distillery is located in Tenga, Sleat, Scotland on the Isle of Skye. The distillery was founded in January 2017 by Sir Ian Noble. The current owner is Mossburn Distillers. They use a Lauder mash tun They have wood washbacks. and they have one wash still and one spirit still. The Torabhaig Allt Glean from the cask single malt Scotch whiskey. They use concerto barley that was peated at 78 ppms with a residual of 22.8 ppms. It was aged in first fill of bourbon cask. It is non-chill filtered, has natural color, and is bottled at 61.1% alcohol by volume, and this is a 70 cl bottle. So, new distillery, opened in 2017, same time, or about the same time as Armadale Distillery. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful distillery. It's very traditional, beautiful location. As you saw there in the notes, they are going all the way, deep dive into being a integrity distillery, giving you as much detail as you want to have. The peat level before it's distilled and the peat level after it's distilled. Even telling you the type of barley that they're using. So in terms of a nerdy distillery, this is the way we want it to be. And I'm hoping this will become a trend and that we'll see more and more like this in distilleries. Not just putting this information, say, on a website, but perhaps on the bottle itself. So going into this, I had real high hopes, but I have to give an honest review. When I first pulled the cork, what I got on the nose was something akin to rubbing alcohol. You know, when you go get an inoculation and they take the little pads and they clean your arm before giving you the, the stick. That's exactly what I was getting on the nose. And I said, okay, don't judge a whiskey by neck pour. Let it breathe. I have been, as much as possible, really, really, really patient with this whiskey. I let it breathe. I put a little bit of water on it. I put a little bit of water on it and let it absorb. One pouring of this, I actually put water in it, then put a lid on it and let it sit in it for a couple hours, so to really become integrated into the whiskey. And unfortunately, this whiskey is very underwhelming. I'm going to be as polite as possible because there's so much going on with distillery that I like. But if you compare Armadale Distillery cask strength, which I did in my previous video, similar in age, both cask strength, and yet Armadale, the cask strength, I gave it like 90 points. It's a fantastic whiskey, even in its youth. This one, I'm just struggling with it. There is a big waft of peat that comes on the nose. Do get some light citrus, a little bit of vanilla, some lemon, maybe a little bit of grapefruit, but it still comes across very ethanol-like, very new-makey. And that rubbing alcohol character is still there. On the palate, it's better on the palate than it's coming across on the nose. Maybe some apple, maybe some pear, and some citrus, some lemon. Very intense peat. It's actually, in terms of compare the ppms with the way it comes across on the palate, it comes across heavier in peat than you would think based on the bottle level of the ppms. A lot of smoke in the finish. There's not a whole lot of transition from the front and the middle into the finish. Mostly what you get is a lot of smoke on the finish. It has quite a sharp bite. Obviously high ABV, even with 2 teaspoons of water. But also there's a youth bite. Try to train your palate. Try some age statement whiskeys that are cask strength, and you can tell the difference between a warmth and a viscous feeling from a high ABV whiskey versus a sharpness if you try a new make. And you can tell there's a difference between a sharpness that comes from youth versus just high ABV. And peat and age maturation, that even if it's high ABV, will sort of soften the edges so that while you may get a high punch of alcohol, you're not getting this sort of sharpness in the alcohol bite. There are plenty of cask strength whiskeys out there that have some age on it that I can drink neat and not get any bite whatsoever. So, what do I think about the whiskey? I understand from a business standpoint needing to get a product out there. But you shouldn't put something in a bottle until it's really, really ready. I think this whiskey needs to go back into the cask. It needs a few more years. Not just because I like older whiskeys, I just don't think it's ready. This is like, have you ever seen a loaf of bread and it looks great? Someone home baked the bread and you can smell the bread in the house and it smells so fantastic. But then when you go to cut into the loaf of bread, it's kind of doughy in the middle. It's not really finished. They need, that bread really should have been in the oven a lot longer. It's that sort of experience that you could just go, this could be so much better if it just had more time. So in terms of a whiskey student and the whiskey geek, you're probably going to want to buy this in order to try it, to see what the quality of the spirit is and see, okay, where it has potential and where it's going to go. But just in terms of drinking the whiskey in and of itself, I can think of a lot of other whiskeys out there with age statement for the same price or lower that I would much prefer, and then I'm going to reach for and grab as a go-to heavily peated or at least moderately peated whiskey. So what I'm going to give in terms of a score, I'm probably going to go like an 82, 83, somewhere in that range. It just screams, put me back in the cask. Put me back in the cask. I am not ready yet. Which makes me kind of sad because there's so much going on. It's a beautiful distillery. I love the labeling. I love everything that they're doing. It's just not ready. I think they just jumped the gun on that one. All right, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you have not yet subscribed, you like watching my videos, would greatly appreciate it. If you would subscribe, ring the bell to be notified for when I go live or push a new video. And until next time, Slàinte. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.